What Caitlin Clark gets wrong about the transfer portal. On a recent podcast appearance, Caitlin Clark criticized the overuse of the transfer portal, but her remarks miss the bigger picture. Caitlin Clark has been great for women's sports. So has the transfer portal, even if she doesn't like it. Everything Caitlin Clark touches seems to turn to gold, but her recent comments about the transfer portal were lackluster at best. Earlier this month, Clark was a guest on the New Heights with Jason and Travis Kelce podcast, where she called out perhaps one of the most polarizing topics in college sports, the transfer portal. The transfer portal is crazy, especially in football. That's where I think it's gotten the craziest, Clark said on New Heights. It's kind of sad. You lost a little bit of that amateurism of college sports, but also, it's the world we're living in. Clark is correct in that the transfer portal further brings the concept of athletic amateurism in college sports into question. But here's the thing. You can't bemoan the loss of amateurism, which is a shoddy concept to begin with, while actively profiting off its downfall like Clark has, signing multi-million-dollar contracts that would make amateurism purists cringe. And it's clear that Clark doesn't fall into that camp. Even while dissing the transfer portal, she acknowledged the benefits of NIL earlier in her interview when she discussed navigating broad policy changes while in college. That NIL part of it, like the true endorsements, like you're doing a commercial for the local coffee shop, it's something so easy and so simple, Clark said. A normal student can do that, but why couldn't an athlete? NIL has undoubtedly been great for college athletes like Clark, as her endorsements during her college career amplified her brand, as well as her sport, and set the foundation for her already illustrious pro career. And the transfer portal is similarly good for athletes and universities. That includes Iowa, Clark's alma mater, who snagged Villanova transfer Lucy Olson to replace Clark after her graduation. And Clark's argument about NIL, that because regular students can sign endorsements and become influencers, so why shouldn't athletes, rings hollow when contrasted against her complaints against transferring. If a student in a university's marching band or forensics team wants to transfer, they can do so without penalty from their extracurricular organizations. Until recent updates to NCAA transfer policies, the same was not true for NCAA athletes, who had to sit out a season if their transfer requests were accepted by the NCAA at all. Prior to 2018, college athletes needed their coach's permission to contact other schools in regards to transferring, essentially enabling coaches to block rival schools from picking up their prized athletes. The NCAA's latest transfer policies actually treat college athletes more like regular students, which Clark seems to be in favor of in regards to NIL. Not only that, but before NIL was widespread, many people critiqued it in the same way critics are approaching the transfer portal. With NIL, fears about the end of college sports abounded, with Clemson head football coach Dabo Swinney threatening to retire if college athletes were paid. Nick Saban admitted that NIL and transfer portal updates contributed to his decision to retire last season. Today, transfer athletes are criticized for being disloyal to their teams, even though their coaches can switch up schools at the drop of a hat, sometimes even requiring a buyout to leave a school before their contract expires. Both NIL and the transfer portal shared one central critique, that fans would stop watching if athletes were paid, which Brett Kavanaugh heavily argued against in NCAA versus Alston in July 2021, or if they didn't stick with one team for 4 years. Neither has proven true. In the years since NIL and the transfer portal became mainstream, the college football playoff has reached record viewership. So too has women's basketball, both in the regular and postseason, with last season's national championship game between South Carolina and Iowa outperforming the men's championship for the first time. The professionalization of college sports via commercialization has always been good for the industry's bottom line. Now that athletes can take advantage, the revenue is booming even further. And both NIL and the transfer portal have been excellent for female athletes, with the popularity of women's basketball and volleyball skyrocketing in recent years, thanks in part to the visibility both NIL and transferring provide. For better or worse, female athletes like Olivia Dunne Angel Reese, the Cavinder twins, Juju Watkins, and Caitlin Clark are just as well known for their NIL deals as they are for their game, and softball players like Jocelyn Allo, Michaela Edenfield, and Stanford transfer Nijeri Kennedy have also made